Okay, I believe we're live.
Yay.
Hey, everybody, welcome to our live. Today, we are streaming across multiple platforms today. We're on LinkedIn and we're on Facebook. And YouTube, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk today about something that we call the perfect sales system. Tell them where this came from.
You know, we've been trying to explain to everybody how you can get a return on investment when you do the work with us. And most people would say, you know, it was so complicated because they don't really know where to use the little pieces that you've put together. And so we thought, well, if we put a system together and create this system, then people will understand what they're actually investing in, the work that they have to do, and what's going to happen at the end.
Yeah.
You know, how are they going to know if they made the money or they didn't make the money based on their investment?
Yeah.
And that's why we created the perfect sales system.
Yeah. And we take a look at what's happened with us over the last several years. And, you know, we've been able to bring our business globally and, you know, and reach that 7-figure, breach that barrier and do all those things that so many of us want to do as entrepreneurs. And when we look back at all the things that we've done, we find that there's a whole bunch of different pieces out there, right? And what we've been doing is we've been sharing the different pieces and teaching the different pieces. And so we thought, let's put the whole thing together and let's see what it all looks like. And what we found is when we took all these pieces and put them all together and called it the perfect sales system, in almost every case, whenever we've done really well with something, this is the system we followed. And we didn't even know we were doing it until we put it all together and saw some patterns there.
Yeah.
So should we get in and start
let's
talking
just dive
to them
right
about it?
into
Dive right
it.
in? Okay.
Why don't you see if you can one more time share that screen?
Okay. Yeah, we're having some technical things today. So let me just see if I can share that screen. Hang on
Maybe
one second.
this moment will be a great moment.
No, this is not going to be the great moment. Oh, well, that's okay. It's no problem. We'll make it work. I'll tell you what, maybe I can just sort of hold this up. You can see that, right? Okay. So I can maybe use that if we need it. So the perfect sale system basically has two major components to it. One is a set of skills that we need to have. And there are 6 of those that we've determined. So we're going to talk to you about those 6 skills that we need to have in order to make this work. So that's the first part. The second part is what I call reach. There are 5 levels of reach that we have to attain. And I'll talk about what those 5 levels are. And so the 6 skills we use to expand the reach, right? Yep. So it kind of starts with this. The first skill was one that I really struggled with for a long time, and you're a master at this skill. And it's the rapport skill. It's the ability to build rapport one-on-one.
Right.
And for a lot of years, I thought I was good at that, but it turns out I wasn't very good at that because I wanted to just go in and get the sale, right? And then when you and I got together, one of the things I learned about you and your skill is, I mean, you are a master at building rapport with people.
Yeah, it's so important because, you know, that old adage, people buy from the people that they know, like, and trust. And so if you haven't built rapport with somebody, and how many times have you gotten a LinkedIn request and they give you a whole spiel of, you know, what they're doing and why you should buy from them. And what do? You just click off of it because there's no rapport, because they don't even know the people. Like, why should you invest in their product if you don't even know who they are, what they stand for, what their values are, what their morals are?
Yeah.
So I think rapport is a really important first step.
And it's a big part that I kept missing because I didn't know it at the time. But I can see now where my approach, I mean, these weren't the words, but my approach was, hey, I'm Steve, you should hire me because, right? And we see that all the time.
So
right?
many people.
And that's the way we've been sort of conditioned to go to networking groups online or live. And we have this purpose in our head that we're going to get prospects.
And I think that people in general, they're not doing it from a bad place. They're just doing it because they know that what they have is great. And they know that they can help people. So it's like we as the prospect are not even supposed to know that. We're just supposed to trust them. It's like, okay, they believe they're great. We should buy from them.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's so much more than that.
They haven't established that personal connection. So with every one of these skills that we're going to share with you, we actually have a tool that we've used to execute this skill.
Exactly.
And so we got them all listed here, and I will tell you what they are. So the tool that we use to develop rapport is called it's called
Well, it's really a
mindset
strategy, right?
Yeah, it's a strategy.
It's a strategy.
Yeah, it's a strategy. Yeah, and so I call it the memory stack. It's the rapport memory stack, and it's not something that I created. I learned this years and years and years ago when I was with a different training company. But it's basically a stack of questions that you can ask somebody to establish the connection. And when I look back at a lot of the times when I was out there networking and making connections, I wasn't using that stack like I should have. And I've known it for 30 something years.
And when people use it, they love it. It's one of the most favorite things that they learn at our events. Is that memory stack. Great.
And so the rapport is skill number 1.
Okay, good.
So skill number 2 is when this applies when you're, again, one-on-one with somebody, the prospect level. And skill number 2 is stepping from rapport to actually grabbing attention. And there's a time and a way to do that, because the rapport piece is kind of like we're building a relationship and we're establishing a personal connection, right? The attention is that first step where you're shifting off into the business piece. And so we have a tool, we call it the 60-second positioning script. And it's how you can actually get sort of a business attention from somebody within a conversation. So you establish the rapport, and then at the right time, you shift into business attention.
And do people use that particular tool? Do they use it only when they're speaking to somebody, or can they use that on their website? Can they use that as an introduction in an article?
Oh yeah, they can use it anywhere, and we use it for multiple purposes, because it's a script, right? It's a template, and then it's meant to do a certain number of things, but we can apply it in little pieces, or we can apply the whole thing at once, and it's very powerful. So getting attention is skill number 2, and most people get attention. They think they're getting attention by people say, what do you do? And they'll say, well, I'm a business coach, or I'm a trainer, I'm a consultant. And they use I'm a something, or an and something. And that doesn't get attention. All that does is sort of merge into the conversation. So the skill to establish a really good personal relationship is number 1. And the skill to get attention and start shifting into the business conversation is skill number 2.
And what's skill number 3?
Skill number 3 is about establishing credibility very, very, very quickly. Establishing credibility very quickly. And what people try and do, and I did this for so many years, I thought my credentials, right? I've been in the business for 30 years. I'm a certified speaking
president of the Global Federation.
Yeah, and all of that stuff is nice, but I always made the mistake of thinking that's where my credibility was, right? And we still see so many entrepreneurs, especially coaches and consultants, because one of the first lives that we did a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I think, was all about differentiators,
right? And
how people think that their number of years is the differentiator, or their unique system is the differentiator. And really, establishing credibility isn't about that. Establishing credibility is about giving the person or the prospect some indication of yes, your experience and credentials, but just in a sentence fragment. It's about helping them understand that you understand the problem and that you have a solution for it. And so there's a whole credibility piece there. We use
storytelling.
We use storytelling. Yeah, we use storytelling to do that. We have the 1-minute story template that teaches people how to tell a story in 60 seconds or less that establishes credibility, right? And when you build it into a story, then it just makes it so much easier for the prospect to absorb it and to attach to it.
Well, we all like listening to stories.
Yeah.
We all love hearing other people tell stories, especially if you get really great at telling a story.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing worse than somebody who tells a story and they can't tell the story. Yeah. But the way you teach it is certainly makes it easy for people to find the stories in their life that are pertinent to their business. That's another thing that's really important.
Yeah.
Is that how do you find a story in your life that you can actually use in your business with your prospects?
And then how do you tell it in 60 seconds or less?
Right.
Right. Or even 2 minutes.
Right.
And these skills that we're sharing with you, these are skills that you merge into a conversation with a prospect, right? It's not always, step 1, step 2, step 3. Usually it rolls out that way. But when you can build and establish a rapport with somebody, and then you can get their attention in a very non-threatening, passive way, and when you can establish credibility through a very short and relevant story, it really elevates your presence in the mind of that prospect.
Yeah.
And we do all of these things, and we haven't even tried to sell anything.
Exactly.
Yet,
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
And so many people go straight for the close.
Yeah.
Right. And then let me tell you what I
So
offer.
what's step number 1 is?
Step number 1 is the rapport.
Yeah. Step number 2?
Attention.
Okay. Step number 3?
Credibility.
And what's step number 4?
Step number 4 is expertise.
Okay.
It's establishing expertise, or it's, it's like stealing the expert frame. You start demonstrating your expertise.
It's interesting. I just want to talk about that for a minute, because I'm sure people, and I'm sure our audience knows people where you've got 2 people who do exactly the same thing. They could be both coaches. Let's say they're both health coaches. We'll use that as an example. And one person, because that person, they're amazing at what they do. They're amazing. Yet you see person number 2 is way more successful than person number 1.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is person number 2, even though they're not as good as number 1, why are they more successful? And we'll define success as money or freedom of time, or they've set boundaries around their business. Why are they more successful than person number 1?
It's usually because they have something that they present that appears to come from their brain. That's number 1. So we see successful people who, the ones that are doing all the funnel training, and the ones that are really at the top of their game, and they all have a system, they all have a framework, they all have something that comes from their brain that is unique from everybody else, or at least appears to be unique from everybody else. And we call it expert insights.
So I'm going to challenge, I think that that's true as well. But I also think sometimes that person number 2 is just really good at persevering, or shoving things down people's throat, or they have this way about them. They haven't really planned to make it happen. It's just like they're forceful. And of course we don't want to be that person.
Right.
We absolutely don't want to be that person.
Right.
So how can we help person 1? And I think you hit it on the nail, is create something that makes you uniquely different than the other person, that someone says, oh my goodness, I've never heard anybody talk about it like that. And you don't have to shove it down somebody's throat, and you don't have to be forceful. You just have to speak from that place of knowledge, that place of authority that you like to say, that expertise, and in a way that's so powerful and so unique that the prospect, or your soon-to-be client, that they just go, oh my goodness, okay, I don't need to hear from anybody else. I just want it from you. Yeah. And that's your gift. That's what you do. That's your gift.
Yeah. So what happens there is this. It's I mentioned about having a strategy or a framework or something that comes from your own brain, right? But the end result is exactly what you said. I say it this way. It's about demonstrating your unique perspective on your prospect's problem.
Right.
From a perspective they have never considered before.
Right.
Right. And so it's not about, presenting your solution. And this is what so many of us do. Is I did this for so many years, is, you have a problem, I have a solution, right? You have a problem, I have a solution. And so the expert insights and establishing expertise or authority isn't about solving the problem.
Right.
What it's about is helping your prospect get clarity around the problem.
Right.
And it's about changing the way they think. And so they do exactly what you just said, where they kind of go, oh my goodness, I've never heard it like that before.
And solution is just a big word for how do you do what you do? So let's use health coach for an example. And some people are part of an MLL system, like maybe they use Isagenix and they coach and they help. So what happens is someone comes to you, your prospect, and says, I'd like to lose 10 pounds and get healthier. And you say, great. The company I represent is Isagenix, and we have a cleanse, and it takes you 20 days. And during that time, you're going to have 4 cleanses a day, and you're going to take all these vitamins, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and blah, blah, blah. That's your solution to their problem.
Right.
And what happens when that is going on is that the prospect in their mind is going, now Joe over there, he has a different solution of how I'm going to lose 10 pounds. And maybe I like that better. Because, I've heard about this product, Isagenix, and I'm not really sure if it's good, or I don't know, maybe I like the product, but I don't really want to do the cleanse. And Joe over here doesn't have a cleanse like that. And now they start judging and comparing solutions. But if you actually talk to your prospect about their problem, they want to lose 10 pounds. And what has that caused them their whole life? The pain that they felt and all the problems that go with it. And if you can speak about it in a way that they've never heard anybody talk about it, they're going to go, you're the person I want to work with.
Yeah.
And they don't care how you're going to solve it for them. They don't care what your solution is. They just care that you understand them and that you have a clear understanding of what their problem is, and you can help them.
Yeah. And it's even bigger than a clear understanding. And that's, you have to have a clear understanding of the problem for sure. What really makes the difference between the one person and the other person is the way the prospect changes their thinking. So the way you're describing it, where you've got one who says this is what I've got, and the other one says this is what I've got, and the prospect says, okay, which one's best for me? That's how most people do it, right? And that's okay, but it doesn't really establish expertise. What establishes expertise is just like you said, where they kind of go, I've never even heard it this way before. I didn't understand this before. And so when you get your prospect to think, no wonder I can't lose the weight. No wonder I can't grow my business. No wonder. And I don't have that thing, or they get clarity on what the cause of the problem is. And now that's where you can really establish your expertise.
It's interesting. Like, I've seen you do this process so many times with people, and it's really easy, the process, but it is not. Okay, what are the words?
It's simple, but it's not easy.
It's like the concept sounds really great.
Yeah.
And then you dig into it and it's like, oh my goodness, because you are so involved in your own business and you only see things, and you and I have this even, I'll come to you and say, what if you think about it differently, like this? Because you're so ingrained in what you do that you need an outsider to kind of help you see what you're not seeing. And that's really where your brilliance comes in. Okay, so let's repeat again. So number 1
is rapport.
Okay, number 2,
attention.
Number 3,
credibility.
And number 4,
expertise.
And what is number 5?
Number 5 is conversion.
Okay.
Right? Being able to
That's
actually.
where you make the money. Woo-hoo.
This is where you actually take them through a sales process. And it's amazing to me how many entrepreneurs really struggle with this step.
Right.
And so many get to this point where they say, okay, well, I've built a rapport and I've established a connection and I know what their problem is and I told them what my solution is, and now it's time for them to say, I'll buy it.
Right.
Right. And so what we've established is something
a flow.
Something called the sales conversation flow. And it's a series of very specific steps. Now I learned this when I was selling vacuum cleaners. I mean, 35 years ago or something, I was selling vacuum cleaners. I learned this. And I did really well with it. I was number 2 in Canada for a long time using.
And then you kind of forgot about it.
I just drifted out of my awareness, and I struggled with sales a lot until it would come back and I would use it, and then it drifted off, and then it would come back and I'd use it and it would drift off, and it's back now, and we've been using it for the last quite a while, and we're
it's
finding,
so authentic. That's what people love about it.
Yeah.
And I had never really used the system, and I had just used my own system, and I started doing it about 6 weeks ago, maybe 7 weeks ago. And it's been really interesting, the responses I'm getting back from people, because they're saying to me like, wow, I want to do that program and I don't feel that you sold me. I feel that you just understand where I'm at. And I just love that about it. So that's such a valuable strategy that we have, is to really learn this flow and really understand how it works, so that when you get on a call, you don't feel icky, you feel authentic. And so number 1, you've already created rapport.
The rapport, yep.
Number 2.
In the flow?
Yes.
Okay, so number 2 in the flow is what I call the inquiry.
Sorry, no. I'm going back over the skill
Oh,
set.
back to the, okay, sorry.
So before we get to the sale,
Okay, got it.
right? When we get to the sale. So
Yep.
before we've even got to the sales conversation,
Yep.
we've created rapport. And
Yep.
then what's the second thing we've done?
We grabbed attention in a very specific way.
Because we've spoken differently about
Yep.
ourselves. Then
Yep.
number 3.
We've established a credibility.
Right? So they think we're awesome and amazing.
Yep.
And then number
And
4.
we've demonstrated expertise.
Right? So now they know we're the authority.
Yep.
And number 5, we're using this sales conversation flow
Right.
to actually make it all come together.
Yeah.
And then number 6.
Now, I'm going to pause for a second because number 6 has a different application.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to demonstrate this. I said that there were 6 skills and there were 5 levels of reach.
Right.
So the first 5 skills operate in the first level of reach. And I'll show this to you. You'll be able to see this. And the first level of reach is the prospect reach. So if you see the circle there, right? I've put a P in the middle. So that's your prospect. This is where you're speaking one-on-one with somebody, right? So those first skills, they operate at the prospect layer or the prospect level.
Okay.
So these are 5 skills you need in order, once you get in front of a prospect, to take them to a sale.
And you can close them.
And you can close them.
Yeah.
But there are 4 other levels of presence, 4 other levels of reach. And
what does presence mean? What does reach mean? You
Right.
mean like so that people in the whole world get to know
Could
you?
be.
So that, like maybe delve into that a little bit more.
Sure. So the first level of reach is, as I said, is prospect. This is where you're speaking to like one person at a time. The second level of reach is what I call network. So this is where you have spoken to enough prospects and you've built a bit of a network and you've established some relationship with people.
Yeah.
A lot of entrepreneurs stop at this level and they network a lot, which is fine because we have to do that. And they may have big networks, which is fine because we do have to do that. But when you're operating just at these levels, what's happening is you're spending all your time establishing connections and trying to bring in prospects. Right.
And finding new networking opportunities.
Yeah. And so we do this. You have to do this, but so many stop there. The next level of reach is what I call community. This is where now you're taking everything that you have put out there in the world and you're establishing a community of followers or a community of, potential prospects. Like for us, we have the WEN Global community. We also have our Facebook page for coaches and consultants. These are communities where people come in and they get value and we start building relationships over time. Okay. And then the 4th level is what I call your circle of influence. The circle of influence now is where you have people out there that will advocate for you. Right. And this is where you're going to start getting more prospects through referrals. And, the phone starts ringing more because you have a population of people out there that you have influenced through your work and who are willing to advocate for you.
Right.
And so many entrepreneurs really never reach that level. They think they have a circle of influence, but they haven't given enough thought to how it's defined and what it really is. So you operate at the circle of influence layer, and then beyond the circle of influence, after that is what I call the reputation layer. And this is where you have a specific reputation. Your name out there in the world is attached to something other than your title. So the 6th skill is what I call presence. And presence is where you can move beyond that prospect layer out through the network layer into the community layer, expand the circle of influence, and then establish a reputation.
Right.
And this is what we've been able to do.
Right. So let me get clear, just so that everybody who's listening to us understands. So the perfect sales system is really composed of 5 things, 5 skills. And the first skill is rapport.
Okay.
The second skill is?
The second skill is attention.
The third skill is?
Credibility.
The 4th skill is?
Expertise.
And the 5th skill is? Conversion. So those 5 skills are what get you going on converting most of the prospects that you're speaking to. And we're seeing, in our own business, we see 4 out of 5. In most of our clients' business who have followed these systems, they're getting 4 out of 5 in their conversions because they're following it faithfully.
Yeah.
Once you've developed that perfect sales system,
Mhm.
you're going to want to continue on. And the next level that you want to continue on to is being able to present all of your expertise,
Mhm.
all of your everything that you've worked on, that you've developed. You want to present that in a way that's congruent, that is exciting for the audience, that has a system to it, has a template to it, and that's something that you do sort of as the sixth skill that
Yes.
people need.
Yes.
But the first 5 are the most important to get the sales.
Yeah, because without the first 5, you're never going to make any money.
Right.
Which is, and we know about that. Right?
Yes, we do.
You know, because I've spoken at, you know, many events where I thought in my head, oh, great, there's so many people here, we're going to be able to monetize. And of course, it never happened because I didn't apply those skills properly.
And, you know, it really took us, you know, we're together now 6 years, and it really took us the first 3 to get really good at those first 5 skills.
Yeah.
And now in the last 2 to 3 years is where we're starting to see, you know, our community being built. We're starting to see the circle of influence. We're starting to get calls from people who have, you know, heard about us through someone who's taken our program. And so we know the system works. We've lived it. It's a tried and true system. We work through it, and it's really awesome.
And where I got stuck is, and I'm just thinking about this now as you're speaking, is if we talk about these layers, I got stuck at the community layer here for years. I used to run this event. Some of you will remember this event. Used to run this event called Your Stage, right? And it was just an event that I had every month here. I ran it for about 5 years or something. And there was a community there. There was a lot of people who would come over and over. There was a community there, but I had not turned that community or extended it into a circle of influence, and I had not expanded the reputation, and I wasn't using those first 5 skills.
Right. You need the perfect sales system.
Right. So I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with me? I got a beautiful community here with, you know, a couple of hundred people in it. Why am I not making the revenue?
Right.
And it's because all of these pieces have to be there. If any of these pieces are missing, then it just doesn't work.
So we, at the end of this month on August 30th, we're actually doing a perfect sales system intensive. And what's going to happen at that perfect sales system intensive, lots of words there, is we are going to show you the strategy that we personally have used. You know, myself, when I first started out in business, you, as we got together and put our businesses together, that exact strategy that took us from, you know, very limited sales to having our first $1 million year in 2017. And so we're going to be showing you, we're going to be working through it, all the strategies that you need to have to get to there, the perfect sales system.
Yeah.
And we'd love to have you join us. Again, it's August the 30th. It's $197 USD. There's a link somewhere on this system that you have. Usually I'm watching you, so I can see things that are happening in the chat box. But in this system, I'm going to ask Tara if you could go ahead and put in the link so that people could register. We do have a limited amount of people that we're going to take into this intensive. So if you know that this is something that you really want to master, you want to get good, and you want to understand the strategy, then you should definitely sign up sooner than later. And on that note, I just want to tell everybody who is listening in our community and knows us that we have a new baby grandson today.
We do.
As of this morning at 7:54, is that what time you told me?
7:52.
7:52. Yeah. Amanda had her baby, and he is healthy. We don't know the weight yet, but
we do. 9 pounds 10 ounces.
Oh wow, almost 10 pounds.
21 inches long, which is like, this is a toddler. Yeah.
This is a toddler. So hopefully we're going to get out to go see him later today and get to meet him. His name is Colston, Cole for short. Yeah. And Amanda's doing great, and the baby's doing great. You know, today you have the baby and you go home.
Yep.
And Amanda had said to me before, she says, Jayne, I'm going to have the baby, and like 3 hours later I get to bring him home. And I'm like, yep, no manual, no nothing. You're just going to go home and figure it out. Yeah. So Yeah, very excited. So Tara is our new executive assistant, and she's on the line here with us. I see now that you have put in the link, which is great. So just go ahead, register. We'd love to teach you the strategies that have taken us all over the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't have to want to be global. You just have to want to make sales and close your prospects so that you can help them. Because isn't that what we're here? Isn't that what we're all about?
That's what we're here to do.
Helping people to have their problems solved. So this has been really fun. I hope
Yeah.
you invite me back to do a live with you.
Well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Everybody have a great and awesome day.
Thanks, everybody. We'll talk
Bye.
soon.